patterns. And whereas Mr. Christopher has given back to his community as a member of the Mount Vernon School Board, serving a term as president from 2006 to 2007, and as a member of several Texas Workforce Commission training advisory boards, and whereas with the love and support of his wife Sandy, Nigel Christopher has set an outstanding example of civic engagement, and it is indeed a pleasure to honor him at this time. Now therefore be it resolved that Nigel Christopher be congratulated on his selection as the 2011 Titus County Republican of the Year, and that he be extended sincere best wishes for continued success and happiness.
That's a flag that I kind of know well.
Yes.
All of us in this room would consider ourselves conservatives, and I'd just like to talk about when I decided that I was a conservative. It was in January of 1974. It was a little bit similar to this in that I was sitting at a table and there was candles. I was wearing a jacket, but I was wearing 2 sweaters underneath it. I was doing my homework by candlelight because the coal miners had been on strike in England for about 3 months, and we were going through what came to be known as the 3-day week. They rationed electricity because there wasn't enough coal to keep all the power plants going. I was 14 at the time, and I decided this is no way to run anything. And that's right when I decided that we had to get rid of the Labour Party, we had to get a proper Conservative government, and we had to once and for all put the unions away. And that didn't happen overnight, but as a result of that there was an election which the Conservatives lost. But in September of 1974 at the Conservative Party conference, Margaret Thatcher became the leader of the Conservative Party of England, Great Britain, and 4 years later she became the Prime Minister, and 2 years later she became one of the best friends and supporters that Ronald Reagan ever had. So that's kind of where my little bit fits into it. So anyway, very much appreciate all your help.
Okay. The next person that I wanted to acknowledge tonight is Tony Mize, because without Tony's help on just about every electronic thing and technology that's breaking in our culture, I just couldn't do it. He set up our website and he's done all kinds of things. So Tony, I believe there is a resolution written in your honor as well.
Present it.
Yes.
Chairman.
Okay.
Chairwoman.
Tony, this is for you. And I believe, is there a resolution
We
you'd
have a
like?
flag. We're cast it.
And we have a resolution. The State of Texas Resolution. Whereas Tony Mize, the Mount Pleasant, has received the Chairman's Award for Special Service from the Titus County Republican Party, and whereas Mr. Mize was honored for the countless volunteer hours that he had spent designing and maintaining the party's website and serving as the organization's technical advisor, he's also made a notable contribution to the party as the chair of Precinct 14 and as a member of the executive committee since 2009. Whereas born in Tyler on November 17, 1966, Mr. Mize grew up in Gladewater and Longview and graduated from Pine Tree High School. He's worked with the Brookshire Grocery Company for 28 years and currently serves as store director of the Mount Pleasant Brookshires. And whereas Mr. Mize is a respected leader in his community and a valued congregant of First Baptist Church, in addition to being politically active, he's volunteered his time with projects such as the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life. And whereas in all his endeavors, Mr. Mize enjoys the support and encouragement of Lisa, his wife of 24 years, and their 3 daughters, Kimberly, Christina, and Casey. And whereas Tony Mize has distinguished himself through his hard work and dedication in behalf of the Titus County Republican Party, and he is indeed worthy of recognition for his exemplary public spirit. Now therefore be it resolved that Tony Mize be congratulated on receiving the Chairman's Award for Special Service, and that he be extended sincere best wishes for continued success.
Good luck to you, Gordon.
All right, I'm going to say, well, thank you, sir. I'll say one thing for you. It's a shameless plug. If y'all haven't got on the website lately, get on the website. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got blogs, we've got all kinds of stuff on there. We want to be able to stay in constant contact with you and be able to help keep you informed of what's going on and in our area especially. And you can make donations as well. Anyway, thank y'all for this.
Thank you all.
Before I leave, I want to tell you a joke Jerry Miller told me. We talk about jobs all the time. I'm making speeches up there about job. And she told me about a guy that absolutely had to have a job. He'd do anything. He'd take any kind of work there was. There wasn't anything, any work for him. And they told him there's a circus in town and understand they have some openings. He went out there to the circus. He said, I'll do anything. He said, well, our female gorilla died. We need a female gorilla. And he said, how could I be that? He said, we skinned the female gorilla, have it in, and then you put it on. You just have to stand out and let people watch you. Move around some, but we have to have a female gorilla. And he moved around some. He got on Jerry's bed that he got on top of the place there and jumped off the time or so. Pretty soon he got up around the fence, got too close to the fence. He fell over into the lion's pit. The lion come roaring up to him. Arr! He said, wait a minute, I'm not a gorilla, this is me. And pulled off his head and said, here, I'm zipping this down, it's me. I'm not a gorilla. The lion said, keep your mouth shut, you're going to get both of us fired.
I have to tell a story on route in the campaign. It seemed like we were crossing paths off, and he just decided he was going to have me fill in for him whenever he couldn't show up, and so I had to learn all of his stories. And, he related to me one time that elderly widowers want to get married in a hurry, and he told a story of a friend of his who was an elderly widower, and he said they got married, and Ralph asked him, he said, well, what? She rich?
He was 89.
He's an elderly. So Ralph asked him, was she beautiful? Well, no, she wasn't beautiful. Well, is she rich? No, she's not rich. Well, can she cook? Well, no, she really can't cook. Ralph just scratched his head. Well, why in the world did you marry her? Because she can still drive. One other thing Ronald Reagan said was this. He said that democracy is one generation away from extinction. We don't pass it on in our bloodstream. It's something that we have to train. We have to fight for. We have to train young people, like my daughter Avery here, to understand what it means to be able to have a representative vote in the legislature. And I'll tell you, democracy is best preserved when we have very conservative people in office. Because conservative people want to preserve freedoms first and foremost. And I think the people less likely to want to use politics for selfish gain or for some other ulterior motive are going to be conservative people who are going to disdain that. And they're going to want to fight so that we can do what we are doing tonight, for example, without fear of retribution, without fear of somebody standing at the door with a gun to take us away. I was asked to introduce Ted, and we're going to get around to it in just a minute, Ted. But, Sue asked me to take a moment and talk a little bit about redistricting. And I guess, Sue, the best way to do it might just be I can either lay out kind of generally what's going on, or if there is a specific question, I can answer that, if that would be shorter. So, Sue, which way would you like to go?
I think people understand the vote, but what can we do now because it hasn't been signed by the governor yet?
I think the best thing to do is to simply start calling the senators. And call the governor's office as well. And let them know your mind. I'll just tell you the effects of the redistricting bill that passed out of the House on Wednesday night. Did a good thing. It kept conservative representation in East Texas. I'm proud to tell you, East Texas is the most conservative place in the state of Texas. You all worked very, very hard to make that happen because goodness knows, Brian, how long, you're the first Republican elected in Titus County.
Ever.
Since Reconstruction, or even before then. And we worked very, very hard to get conservatives elected in East Texas. And the map that was drawn changed a lot of the faces of a lot of the districts. My district in particular was divided up into 4 different districts. And I was paired to run with Dan Flynn. And when I heard that, I thought, well, that's great, because we're going to have a conservative representative in our district. Then I began to look at the map, and I realized that I can't read somebody's motivation, but you can surely see the effects of maybe their intent. And the effects were that under the map that was proposed by the redistricting committee, there were 8 pairings. 7 of them were Republicans. 6 of the pairings were very, very conservative people.
Yes.
And it really troubled me. And so we offered 3 different sets of maps to the redistricting committee to keep our East Texas districts intact. And they were all rejected. And so we decided to draw up our own map. And we began to draw up our map, and it really caused some consternation in the redistricting committee, to the point that when we argued redistricting on Wednesday until 3 in the morning, deals were being cut all over the floor because if our map would have been accepted, it would have been one that would have taken over the redistricting committee's map, and they didn't want that to happen. So in that effort, we were able to actually undo some of those pairings and save some of the conservative representative vote in the state. So we're very happy for the outcome of that. But I think in terms of what can be done now, Sue, the best thing to do is to start calling Senator Eltine, start calling Senator Dool, and some of the other senators. Senator Birdwell would probably be sympathetic. Senator Dan Patrick would probably be sympathetic. Call anybody that you think has a conservative bone in their body on the Senate and talk to them.
And what do we say to them?
Tell them to the extent they can to not support House Bill 150, which is the House map.
Okay, not supported.
Now, this is just the first step. If the Senate approves it, and the Senate, frankly, probably will. They don't mess with the House map because they don't want us messing with theirs. But there's no guarantee that the governor will sign it. In fact, he said at a breakfast last week that he would veto any bill that diluted the conservative vote. So if he does that, it'll go to the legislative redistricting board. And Ted, let me make sure I've got this right. We've got the 5 people on the board: the Speaker of the House, the Lieutenant Governor, the Land Commissioner, the Comptroller, and the Attorney General. And we have some allies in that group of 5, conservatives do. So you might start calling them as well. And if there's no other questions, I'll move along. So are there any other questions about redistricting?
What did it do to your district? You said it paired you and Plan, then you said you had some consternation when you looked at it a little closer.
Yeah, I didn't have any consternation of the district. Well, the district was apparently drawn with the intent to pair us. But I had some consternation about the entire map, the entire state of Texas. Because people all over this state worked as hard as I can remember to get conservatives elected last cycle. And 12 of those conservatives that were elected were paired. And, to me, that just was not a coincidence. And I just couldn't stand by and take it. And a lot of us conservatives didn't want to either. There were 10 Republican votes against that map at 3 o'clock on Thursday morning. 6 of those votes were from Republicans in East Texas. That's how skewed the map was. We've got to maintain our conservative vote. That's why we have somebody here tonight that I want you to pay careful attention to. You received this flyer that Ted's man Josh passed out. There's a statement in here that is very telling. It says, Ted Cruz a conservative popular among Tea Party activists, has raised more than $1 million a year. All the candidates call themselves conservatives, but Cruz may be the most conservative. Conservative values, genuine conservative values, will assure you that the person who is running is not there for political gain, but there to do what I think the Founding Fathers intended us to do, and that is to go, serve, and then come back to your communities. That's what a conservative thinks like. And so I think I want you to pay careful attention to what you're going to hear tonight. We've got the privilege of hearing from former Texas Solicitor General Ted Cruz. On January 19, Ted filed to run for the United States Senate based on the need for new leadership and his proven record of fighting for conservative principles and winning on a national level. Conservative principles are what we need to discover. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Ted served for 5.5 years as the Solicitor General of Texas. Now, this is really important. The state's chief lawyer before the United States Supreme Court. He knows what he's doing. Ted's authored over 80 U.S. Supreme Court briefs and personally argued 39 oral arguments, including 9 before the United States Supreme Court, the most of any lawyer in Texas. Ted was the youngest Solicitor General in the nation, the longest serving in Texas, and first Hispanic Solicitor General in Texas. He's been described by National Review as a star rising in Texas, a great Reaganite hope, and he has earned national recognition as a passionate and effective defender of liberty and the Constitution. And on a personal note, I just want you to know that the first time that I heard Ted give a speech, I was actually watching him on YouTube, and I thought, this is the guy that we need to keep our eyes on, because this guy is talking the way that we believe. You are not going to hear, folks, a bunch of political speech tonight. I believe that what you're going to hear is sincerity. So please join me in welcoming someone you're going to hear a lot about in the future, Mr. Ted Cruz.